All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Anuja Kumar and with me is VC Pramod. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Hyderabad and Chennai today to lay foundation stone and inaugurate 11 projects worth over 31,500 crore rupees in Tamil Nadu. Prime Minister to participate in 20th anniversary celebrations of Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. President Ramnath Kovind to inaugurate National Conference of Women Legislators in Thiruvananthapuram this morning. Union Minister Piyush Goyal says India will continue to export wheat to countries in serious need. Election Commission announces schedule for by-election to 3 Lok Sabha seats and 7 Assembly constituencies. Kapil Sibal quits Congress, files nomination for Rajya Sabha seat with Samajwadi Party's support. NIA court in Delhi awards life imprisonment to JKLF chief Yasin Malik in terror funding case. Vinay Kumar Saxena to be sworn in as the new Lieutenant Governor of Delhi today. Narendra Batra steps down as President of Indian Olympic Association, and in IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Lucknow Super Giants by 14 runs to enter Qualifier 2. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Hyderabad and Chennai today. In Hyderabad at around 2 p.m., the Prime Minister will participate in the celebration of completion of 20 years of Indian School of Business and address the graduation ceremony of Postgraduate Program PGP class of 2022. ISB was inaugurated by former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 2001. Regarded as one of the top B schools in the country, ISB also collaborates with several ministries and departments of the government to provide training and capacity building. More from our Hyderabad correspondent.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit evoked much enthusiasm among over 900 ISB students as it is coinciding with their graduation ceremony. The VVIP's visit will last for about an hour and 15 minutes. The Prime Minister will present medals to some of the academicians who excelled in their areas on the occasion. He will unveil a commemorative plaque, release the ISB mile stamp and a special cover, besides planting a sapling on the occasion. Elaborate security arrangements are being made in view of the Prime Minister's visit. The Hyderabad police have prohibited flying of remote-controlled drones, paragliders and micro-light aircraft around the ISB for about 5 kilometers. Lakshmi, AR News, Hyderabad.
In Chennai, Mr. Modi will dedicate to the nation and lay the foundation stone of 11 projects worth over 31,500 crore rupees this evening. The completed works that the Prime Minister is set to dedicate to the nation include 5 major infrastructure projects worth over 2,960 crore rupees. They are 75-kilometer long Madurai-Theni railway gauge conversion project, a 30-kilometer long third railway line between Tambaram and Chengalpattu, a natural gas pipeline project, and 1,152 houses constructed as part of the Lighthouse project in Chennai. Mr. Modi will also lay the foundation stone for 6 projects worth 28,540 crore rupees. The main project include the 262-kilometer long Bengaluru-Chennai Expressway that will be built at a cost of over 14,870 crore rupees. The 21-kilometer long 4-lane double-decker elevated road connecting Chennai Port and Madurai in the city will be built at a cost of over 5,850 crore rupees. The 5 railway stations at Chennai Egmore, Rameshwaram, Madurai, Katpadi and Kanyakumari will be redeveloped at a cost of 1,800 crore rupees. Our Chennai correspondent has filed this report.
The grand function of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Chennai will be a convergence of key leaders. The reason is the involvement of different central ministries and the beneficiary states. The participants list includes Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi, the Chief Ministers of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, Mr. M.K. Stalin, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy and Mr. Basavaraj Bommai, Union Ministers Mr. Nitin Gadkari, Mr. Ashwani Vaishnav, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri and Dr. L. Murugan, and also the Tamil Nadu opposition leader in the Assembly, Edappadi Palaniswamy. 5-tier security has been put in place in Chennai with the deployment of more than 22,000 police personnel. The new infrastructure projects, once completed, will go a long way in improving the ease of living in the region, besides reinvigorating the economy. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
The Prime Minister has asked the agencies working in the infrastructure sector to map their projects with water bodies being developed under Amrit Sarovar. Mr. Modi said this would be a win-win situation as the material dug out for the Amrit Sarovars can be utilized for civil works by the agencies. The Prime Minister chaired the meeting of 40th edition of Pragati yesterday. In the meeting, 9 agenda items were taken for review, including 8 projects and 1 program. These 8 projects have a cumulative cost of over 59,900 crore rupees concerning 14 states. During the interaction, the Prime Minister Modi also reviewed National Broadband Mission Program. State and agencies were asked to leverage the centralized Gati Shakti Sanchar portal to ensure timely disposal of right-of-way applications. He added this would expedite the implementation of the mission and they should work to use technology for enhancing ease of living of the common man. The Prime Minister further said states may also formulate state-level Gati Shakti Master Plan on the lines of PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan and constitute state-level units for this purpose.
President Ramnath Kovind will inaugurate the National Conference of Women Legislators in Thiruvananthapuram today. Kerala Governor Arif Mohammad Khan will preside over the inaugural session at the Kerala Legislative Assembly Complex. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan and his Council of Ministers, Speakers M.B. Rajesh, Opposition Leader V.D. Satishan and MLAs will be among those present. Our correspondent reports that in this first-of-its-kind conference, women legislators from the Parliament, speakers from and legislators from different states are expected to participate. The program is being organized as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, coinciding with the 75th anniversary of independence. It will have sessions on constitution and women's rights, role of women in India's freedom struggle, women's rights and legal gaps, underrepresentation of women in decision-making bodies, besides an open house for interaction and feedback. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla will address the valedictory function tomorrow. Union Minister Piyush Goyal has said that India will continue to allow wheat export for countries which are in serious need, are friendly and have the letter of credit. Mr. Goyal said this while speaking at the World Economic Forum at Davos, Switzerland. The minister highlighted that this year 7 to 8% rise in wheat production is expected, but severe heat wave led to an early harvest and loss of production. He said India was never a traditional player in the international wheat market and export of wheat only began about 2 years ago. Mr. Goyal mentioned that last year 7 lakh metric tons of wheat was exported and majority was done within the last 2 months when the war between Russia-Ukraine developed. The Commerce Minister said India wheat exports are less than 1% of the world trade and its export regulation should not affect global markets. He said India will continue to allow exports to vulnerable countries and neighbors.
The Union Government has decided to put a cap on sugar exports to ensure domestic availability. Briefing media in New Delhi yesterday, Food Secretary Sudhanshu Pandey said India's exports have reached a record high in this season and now domestic availability has to be ensured during October-November as consumption increases in the festive season. Earlier, the centre decided to allow export of sugar up to 100 lakh metric tons. The centre has allowed import of 20 lakh metric tons each of crude soybean oil and crude sunflower seed oil per year for a period of 2 years at a nil rate of customs duty and agricultural infrastructure and development cess. This will provide significant relief to the consumers. The exemption from customs duty and agricultural infrastructure and development cess will be effective from yesterday. Briefing media in New Delhi, Secretary Department of Food and Public Distribution Sudhanshu Pandey said,
हमारा ऑलमोस्ट 56% डिपेंडेंस जो है इंपोर्ट के ऊपर है और उसमें इंपोर्ट में 3 मुख्य तेल हैं। एक पाम ऑयल है और सोयाबीन ऑयल है, सनफ्लावर ऑयल। पाम ऑयल की सप्लाईज जो है वो बहुत इरेटिक रही हैं पिछले दिनों बिकॉज ऑफ दी पॉलिसीज ऑफ सप्लाईज ड्यू टू डोमेस्टिक कंपल्शंस ऑफ सम कंट्रीज एंड देयर ड्यूटी वाज ऑलरेडी reduced on the crude palm, and this has been done zero duty, zero agri cess, both on soybean and sunflower, up to 20 lakh metric ton per year. So this year 22-23 and then 23-24.
Election Commission has announced schedule for by-election to 3 parliamentary constituencies and 7 assembly constituencies across 5 states and 1 union territory. 3 parliamentary seats are Rampur and Azamgarh in Uttar Pradesh and Sangrur in Punjab. Azamgarh seat was vacated by Samajwadi Party leader Akhilesh Yadav after winning the assembly election, while Rampur seat was vacated by Mohammad Azam Khan after winning the assembly poll in Uttar Pradesh. The Sangrur seat in Punjab was vacated by Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann, who vacated the seat after winning the assembly election. The 7 assembly seats where by-election will be held are Rajendra Nagar in Delhi, Mandar in Jharkhand, Atmakor in Andhra Pradesh and Town Bordowali in Agartala, Surma and Jubaraj Nagar in Tripura. The last date of filing of nomination will be the 6th of next month. Polling will be held on the 23rd of June, while counting of votes will take place on the 26th. The Election Commission of India has decided to take graded action against more than 2,100 registered unrecognized political parties, RUPPs, for non-compliance with Sections 29A and 29C of the Representation of the People Act 1951. It was the second major decision by the Commission after Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar assumed charge on the 15th of this month. Section 29C of RP Act requires a RUPP to furnish a contribution report as prescribed in Form 24A under the Conduct of Election Rules 1961. Such contributions received by RUPPs are also 100% exempted from income tax as an incentive to the parties for strengthening the electoral democracy. The Election Commission has initiated action for enforcing due compliances by registered unrecognized political parties for relevant sections in this regard.
Uttar Pradesh government will present its budget for the financial year 2022-23 today. The budget, which is scheduled to be tabled in the Assembly by Finance Minister Suresh Khanna, is expected to lend the much-needed traction to the promises made by the BJP in its Lok Kalyan Patra before the state polls. The state government had presented an annual budget of rupees 5.5 lakh crore in fiscal year 2021-22. Its size went up to 5.66 lakh crore rupees with the presentation of supplementary budgets.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Hyderabad and Chennai today to lay foundation stone and inaugurate 11 projects worth over 31,500 crore rupees in Tamil Nadu. Prime Minister to participate in 20th anniversary celebrations of Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. President Ramnath Kovind to inaugurate National Conference of Women Legislators in Thiruvananthapuram this morning. Union Minister Piyush Goyal says India will continue to export wheat to countries in serious need. Election Commission announces schedule for by-election to 3 Lok Sabha seats and 7 assembly constituencies. Kapil Sibal quits the Congress, files nomination for Rajya Sabha seat with Samajwadi Party support. NIA Court in Delhi awards life imprisonment to JKLF Chief Yasin Malik in terror funding case. Vinay Kumar Saxena to be sworn in as new Lieutenant Governor of Delhi today. Narendra Batra steps down as President of the Indian Olympic Association. And in IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Lucknow Super Giants by 14 runs to enter Qualifier 2. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी, तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर, या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर, और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। आपका अभ्यास, हमारा प्रयास।
Welcome back to the morning news on All India Radio. Congress leader Kapil Sibal has resigned from the party. He has filed his nomination for the upcoming Rajya Sabha election with support of the Samajwadi Party. After filing his nomination, Mr. Sibal said he has filed his nomination as an independent candidate. However, Mr. Sibal thanked SP Chief Akhilesh Yadav for his party's support to him. Mr. Sibal recently represented jailed SP leader Azam Khan in Supreme Court and helped him secure an interim bail.
16 मई को मैंने त्यागपत्र दे दिया। समर्थन सभी ने मुझको दिया है। सारे उत्तर प्रदेश में जो यहाँ दल है उसमें समर्थन मुझे मिला है।
Vinay Kumar Saxena will be sworn in as the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi today. Acting Chief Justice of Delhi High Court Vipin Sanghi will administer the oath of office in secrecy to Mr. Saxena at Rajnivas. He will be the 21st Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. About 500 guests, including Union Ministers, Delhi Chief Minister, his cabinet colleagues, Delhi MPs and MLAs and judges of the High Court are likely to attend the event. Mr. Saxena will succeed Anil Baijal, who resigned last week, citing personal reasons after an eventful tenure of over 5 years.
An NIA court in Delhi has awarded life imprisonment to JKLF Chief Yasin Malik in a terror funding case. He had earlier pleaded to all the charges, including those under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA. The NIA had sought the death penalty from the court for Malik. The investigative agency told Special Judge Praveen Singh in an in-chamber proceeding that Malik was responsible for the Kashmir Pandits' exodus. The amicus curiae appointed by the court to assist Malik had sought minimum punishment, life imprisonment in the matter. The judge, however, said that since he has already been convicted, there was no point in arguing on the facts of the case and that he was already given the opportunity. Minister of State for Law and Justice S.P. Singh Baghel welcomed the decision.
फैसले का स्वागत करते हैं। तो दूसरी बात यह है कि यासीन मलिक के रिश्ते आतंकवादियों से रहे हैं और किसको आजीवन देना है और किसको फांसी देनी है, ये माननीय अदालत तय करती है। लेकिन आज उन तमाम लोगों को, जो बच्चे यतीम हुए थे, जो औरतें विधवाएं हुई थीं, जिनके घर जले, जिनको मातृभूमि, अपनी कर्म भूमि, अपनी जन्म भूमि छोड़ के कश्मीरी पंडितों को विस्थापित होना पड़ा था, उनके गांवों पर थोड़ा सा मलहम जरूर लगा है।
Captain Abhilasha Barak has become the first women officer to join the Army Aviation Corps as a combat aviator after successful completion of training. She was awarded the coveted wings along with 36 other Army pilots by the Director General and Colonel Commandant of Army Aviation during a valedictory ceremony in Nasik yesterday. Abhilasha Barak hails from Haryana.
And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember transnational freedom fighter Champakaraman Pillai, who died on the 26th of May 1934. Pillai was the forerunner of Ras Bihari Bose and Subhash Chandra Bose in organizing an Indian army abroad to strike against the imperialist British force at home. Pillai is credited with coining of the salutation and slogan Jai Hind.
Champakaraman Pillai was born on the 15th of September 1891 at Cochin in Kerala. Even during his student days, he was quite attracted to books and periodicals preaching nationalism and heard the speeches of all political leaders who were in the forefront of the freedom movement. The personality of Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak and his writings in his journal Kesari turned Champakaraman into a patriot and revolutionary. When Tilak was arrested and sentenced to transportation, Champakaraman was deeply moved and took a pledge to dedicate his life at the altar of the motherland, fighting for her freedom. Champakaraman came into contact with an Englishman who was working as a spy for the Germans, and with the latter's help, he left the shores of India when he was just a lad of 17 years.
Champakaraman first went to Colombo and from there to Switzerland. At Zurich, he completed his education and took a doctorate in engineering. When the First World War broke out, Pillai, with the help of the German embassy, formed the International Pro-India Committee in 1914, with Zurich as its headquarters and himself as the president. Pillai moved to Berlin in October 1914 and started the Indian Independence Committee. Many prominent Indian revolutionaries abroad, including Lala Hardayal, Taraknath Das, Barkatullah, Dr. Chandrakant Chakravarti, Dr. Bhupendranath Dutt, Dr. Prabhakar, Virendra Chattopadhyay, Virendra Sarkar, and Hirambalal Gupta joined him to work out the program.
Champakaraman Pillai won the confidence of the Germans and led the operations of German Navy in the Indian Ocean. The British government announced a reward of £1,00,000 to anyone who would capture Champakaraman Pillai and hand him over. But the brave son of India always eluded them.
Pillai founded the Indian National Volunteer Corps during the First World War and prescribed military uniform and discipline to the volunteers. In July 1914, Pillai gave a message from Berlin to the Indian soldiers that it was time for them to rise in revolt and fight the British for the emancipation of the motherland. Later, in 1919, when Champakaraman Pillai met Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in Vienna, he explained his plan of action to Netaji Subhash. It is believed that Subhash Chandra Bose chose the path shown by Champakaraman Pillai and fulfilled his dream by organizing the Indian National Army during the Second World War.
Champakaraman Pillai had the privilege of being Minister of the Provisional Government of India set up in Afghanistan in December 1915 with Raja Mahendra Pratap Singh of Kabul as President. However, the defeat of the Germans in the war shattered their hopes. After the First World War ended, the relationship between the Germans and self-respecting Indian revolutionaries was strained.
He fell a victim to the wrath of the Nazis, as it is believed that he was slowly poisoned by them. Pillai died on May the 26th, 1934. His wife, Lakshmi Bai, underwent indescribable sufferings as the Nazis made her life miserable. But she preserved Pillai's ashes, his diary and secret documents. As per Pillai's last wish, Lakshmi Bai brought back his ashes to India, where they were ceremonially immersed in Kanyakumari with full state honours. All India Radio salutes the great freedom fighter.
We also remember independence activist Muhammad Yusuf Naqshbandi, who was martyred on the 26th of May 1946. Born in 1923 in Srinagar, Jammu and Kashmir, Naqshbandi was a committed political worker. He actively joined the political movement for responsible government in Jammu and Kashmir in 1946. Naqshbandi was killed at the Khankai Maula in Srinagar on the 26th of May 1946 in the state army's firing on a procession he joined to protest against the Maharaja's tyrannical rule. We salute the great son of the soil.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
The Department of School Education and Literacy has released the National Achievement Survey (NAS) 2021 report. The survey assesses the health of school education system in the country by conducting comprehensive evaluation survey of children's learning competencies at classes 3, 5, 8 and 10th with a cycle period of 3 years. The report reflects the overall assessment of school education system. The last National Achievement Survey was held in 2017. Narendra Batra has tendered his resignation from the post of Indian Olympic Association IOA President. Mr. Batra also confirmed that he will not be running again for the IOA President. He is also the President of International Hockey Federation. In a letter, Batra said that his association with FIH as its President will require more time due to various initiatives taken by the organization.
In IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore defeated Lucknow Super Giants by 14 runs in the playoffs, eliminated Eden Gardens Kolkata last night. Bangalore will now take on Rajasthan Royals for a place in the final. Put into bat first, Bangalore posted a huge total of 207 runs for the loss of 4 wickets in the stipulated 20 overs. In reply, Lucknow could only score 193 for 6 in 20 overs. With this, Bangalore booked a place in the Qualifier 2, which they will play against Rajasthan Royals at Narendra Modi Stadium, Ahmedabad tomorrow. In French Open tennis, Novak Djokovic, Alexander Zverev, Carlos Alcaraz have progressed to the third round of the men's singles. While champion Djokovic saw off Slovakia's Alex Molcan, Zverev overcame Argentina's Sebastian Baez. Spaniard Alcaraz defeated countryman Albert Ramos Vinolas. In women's singles, Angelique Kerber and Victoria Azarenka advanced to the third round. In men's doubles events, India's Ramkumar Ramanathan and American Hunter Rees defeated the all-German duo of Daniel Almatia and Oscar Otte in the first round. The Indo-Dutch pair of Rohan Bopanna and Matway Middlecop have advanced to the second round of the men's doubles event and will take on A. Golubdev and F. Martin today. In the Hockey Junior Men's National Championship, Uttar Pradesh, Chandigarh, Haryana and Odisha entered the semi-finals at Kovilpatti, Tamil Nadu yesterday.
Now let us have a look at the weather forecast for today. National capital Delhi will have partly cloudy sky. Mumbai and Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. Chennai will have generally cloudy sky with heavy rain. Visakhapatnam, Bengaluru, Thiruvananthapuram and Hyderabad will have generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. In the northeast also, Guwahati, Gangtok, Shillong, Aizawl, Agartala and Itanagar will have generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Separatist Yasin Malik gets life in jail for terror funding is the topmost front page headline in the Tribune. The Pioneer adds, court imposes a 10 lakh rupees fine on Malik. As government has sought legal view on divestment of CEL, Pawan Hunt's GST rate tweaks put on hold until inflation eases, writes the Economic Times. Transport Department officials to travel by bus once a week, writes the Times of India, on the Delhi government making it mandatory for the officials. A story of one of the largest consignments of illegal trade being seized is mentioned in the Hindustan Times under the headline, 400 caged exotic animals recovered, smugglers held. The Statesman writes ECI to act against parties for financial impropriety. Across class, subject COVID hits school scores, reports the Indian Express in a survey capturing a fall in performance of students in schools. And finally, Hindustan Times headline says, Golden Letter Day. Indian Army gets its first woman combat aviator in Captain Abhilasha.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Hyderabad and Chennai today to lay foundation stone and inaugurate 11 projects worth over 31,500 crore rupees in Tamil Nadu. Prime Minister to participate in 20th anniversary celebrations of Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. President Ramnath Kovind to inaugurate National Conference of Women Legislators in Thiruvananthapuram this morning. Union Minister Piyush Goyal says India will continue to export wheat to countries in serious need. Election Commission announces schedule for by-election to 3 Lok Sabha seats and 7 Assembly constituencies. Kapil Sibal quits Congress, files nomination for Rajya Sabha seat with Samajwadi Party's support. NIA court in Delhi awards life imprisonment to JKLF chief Yasin Malik in terror funding case. And in IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Lucknow Super Giants by 14 runs to enter Qualifier 2. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.